going to talk about the shapes of molecules. Which is sometimes known as Vesper Theory. Where Vesper stands for valence, shell, electron, pair, repulsion. So we draw Lewis structures, and now we're going to move on from Lewis structures into if there are electrons or atoms with electrons that are too close together, they're going to repel each other because electrons have the same charge and things with the same charge repel. So that repulsion kind of changes the shape so that those electrons can get as far apart as possible. They avoid each other, basically. So an example is NH3. If we draw a Lewis structure for NH3, 5 electrons from nitrogen, 3 hydrogens with 1 each, gives 8 total. Central atom is nitrogen. Hydrogen never goes in the middle. You would draw it like this. 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons. They all have a full octet. And this is a Lewis structure. But if we draw it according to its shape, what happens is this lone pair of electrons creates a large amount of repulsion. Lone free electrons that are not in a bond create repulsion and push these hydrogens away. And they get as far away as they possibly can, and it actually looks more like a pyramid. And we would call this trigonal pyramidal shape. And the way that you decide the shape is by counting bonding areas and lone pair areas. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3 bond areas and 1 lone pair area. And if you look on page 291, the table tells you 3 bonded atoms and 1 lone pair is trigonal pyramidal. And the bond angle, the angle between these, isn't 90, it's 109. They've gotten as far apart as possible in a pyramid shape. You have to picture this kind of going into the board, this kind of coming out of the board, and this being flat on the board, like a pyramid, a 3-sided pyramid. And you can look in your book and see a picture on page 291. Questions? So the steps for deciding shape. Step 1, draw the Lewis structure. Just like we've been drawing the Lewis structure. Step 2, count bonding areas. A double or triple bond counts as 1. bonding area. Step 3, count lone pairs on central atom. And this is on central atom too. And then step 4, pick the matching shape. You have to memorize the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 molecular shapes on page 291. The first column that tells electron group geometry, you don't need to know that. You need to know bonded atoms, lone pairs, molecular shape. Let's do another one. The other day we drew water. That was the very first Lewis structure we drew. And we drew it like this. And if we look at it like this, we would say that those hydrogens are 180 degrees apart. But there's a lot of repulsion coming from these lone pairs. So if you look at the table, if it has 2 bonded atoms and 2 lone pairs, it's actually what we call bent, with those 2 lone pairs sitting on top. Instead of being 90 degrees from bond to lone pair, now it's a larger angle, 109. Okay, that's it. You have 2 jobs today. Work on your homework on page 293 and start memorizing those bonds, lone pairs, name of the shape. You can just borrow one.